Welcome to Global Trends. Please subscribe and hit the bell icon for more breaking updates at Ted Stevens Anchorage International Airport. A typical July Sunday buzzed with the usual routines. Families, business travelers, and ground crew all moving in sync. The air was filled with the familiar sounds of rolling suitcases, laughter, and the distant hum of jet engines. For most, it was just another day of travel, filled with anticipation, reunions, and the promise of new destinations. The departure boards flickered, announcements hummed, and everything seemed perfectly ordinary. Travelers checked their phones, sipped coffee, and waited for boarding calls, trusting the system to keep everything on track. But beneath the surface, trouble was brewing. A subtle tension crept in, barely noticeable at first, but growing with each passing minute. A gate agent's screen froze, cursor stuck and unresponsive. The agent frowned, tapping keys in vain, while a line of passengers began to form. A boarding pass wouldn't scan, leaving a traveler stranded at the gate, confusion flickering across their face as the scanner beeped in protest. At first, these glitches seemed minor, just the usual hiccups of a busy airport. Staff reassured passengers, promising quick fixes, and most people barely noticed. Then, across the terminal, and soon across the country, Alaska Airlines' digital systems began to fail. What started as isolated incidents quickly spread, affecting check-ins, boarding, and flight information everywhere. The flow of information that kept flights moving ground to a halt. Confusion spread rapidly as lines grew longer and staff scrambled for answers. The airport's hum turned to anxious murmurs. Passengers whispered to each other, checking their phones for updates, hoping for good news that never came. Gate agents had no answers. Departure boards went blank, leaving travelers in the dark about their flights and connections. The well-oiled machine of air travel had seized up. Planes sat idle at their gates, jet bridges empty, and the usual rhythm of departures and arrivals was lost. The ordinary day was over, replaced by chaos for thousands of stranded passengers and overwhelmed staff. The airport, once a place of movement and purpose, became a scene of uncertainty and frustration. A long, uncertain night was just beginning as travelers braced themselves for hours of waiting, not knowing when or if they would reach their destinations. The chaos wasn't caused by hackers or sabotage, nor was it the result of a sophisticated cyber attack or a coordinated act of malice. Instead, it all began with a simple, almost mundane hardware failure deep within Alaska Airlines data centers. An event so ordinary yet so devastating in its consequences. One malfunctioning device triggered a catastrophic domino effect, shutting down the critical systems that keep an airline running. Flight dispatch, crew scheduling, ticketing, and essential communications all went dark in an instant. At 10:52 p.m. Eastern, the FAA issued a ground stop for all Alaska Airlines and Horizon Air flights, acting at the airline's urgent request as the scope of the outage became clear. Planes were ordered back to their gates, boarding was abruptly halted, leaving passengers and crew in limbo. The airline was grounded nationwide with every aircraft forced to remain on the tarmac, unable to depart. Without IT systems, Alaska Airlines couldn't guarantee safe operations. No flight plans could be filed, no weight checks performed, and no way to communicate with crews scattered across the country. The safety-first decision avoided disaster, but it created a logistical nightmare for staff and travelers alike as confusion and frustration spread through terminals. For nearly 3 hours, technical teams worked tirelessly, racing against the clock to diagnose the root cause and find a way to bypass the failure, their efforts illuminated only by the glow of emergency lights. The outage was a stark reminder. Our faith in digital systems is both powerful and precarious, and even the most robust networks can be brought down by a single point of failure. A single unseen failure can bring a multi-billion-dollar airline to a standstill, halting operations and sending shockwaves through the entire industry. The disruption severed vital connections, leaving thousands stranded, and served as a sobering lesson in just how dependent we've become on technology to keep the world moving. Officially, nearly 200 flights were canceled and over 13,500 passengers affected, but the real story was in the chaos at the terminals. At Seattle-Tacoma, travelers slept on floors, using backpacks as pillows, trapped in limbo with no information. Families missed cruises, business travelers lost meetings, and communication from the airline was scarce. Parents tried to comfort tired children, elderly passengers waited anxiously. Social media filled with images of endless lines and desperate pleas for help. The disruption was more than an inconvenience, it upended lives. People missed weddings, funerals, and important events, incurring unexpected expenses. The outage exposed our deep reliance on air travel, and how vulnerable we are when it fails. For many, the ordeal became an unforgettable lesson in the fragility of modern travel. As critical systems collapsed without warning, Alaska Airlines and airport authorities scrambled to manage the fallout. The sudden disruption sent shockwaves through every corner of the airport, leaving staff and passengers alike searching for answers. In a matter of minutes, what had been a routine day turned into a logistical nightmare, with teams forced to improvise and adapt on the fly. The airline's first response came via social media, acknowledging the outage and apologizing, but offering little comfort to stranded passengers. Frustration grew as travelers scrolled through updates, hoping for clarity that never quite arrived. For many, the digital messages felt impersonal, highlighting the gap between corporate communication and the real anxieties of those stuck in terminals. Behind the scenes, the operations center became a war room, experts racing to restore systems and reposition aircraft and crews. Every decision carried weight, as staff juggled flight schedules, crew assignments, and passenger needs, all while under immense pressure. The sense of urgency was palpable, with every minute of downtime compounding the chaos. The ground stop finally lifted around 2 a.m. Eastern, but for many, the ordeal was far from over. Passengers who had spent hours waiting overnight now faced the challenge of rebooking flights and navigating crowded terminals. The path to recovery would be slow and uncertain. Airport staff focused on crowd control and passenger welfare, providing water, snacks, and information to those in need. Their efforts to maintain order and offer reassurance became a lifeline for many, as confusion and fatigue set in. Police were present to reassure and assist, highlighting the partnership between airlines and airports. Their visible presence helped calm tensions and ensured that safety remained a top priority throughout the ordeal. Alaska Airlines issued detailed statements promising a full review of their IT systems and better communication in the future. The company pledged to learn from the incident and to take concrete steps to prevent a repeat. The incident became a case study in crisis management, showing just how hard it is to communicate and coordinate during a meltdown. It exposed vulnerabilities, but also revealed the dedication of those working behind the scenes to restore order. The challenge ahead was clear: restore trust, get passengers moving again, and rebuild confidence in the airline's ability to handle the unexpected. The IT outage happened amid heightened anxiety about air travel security. Just a month earlier, a bomb threat at Seattle-Tacoma Airport had triggered a full-scale emergency. A passenger's careless remark led to a plane being isolated, runways closed, and passengers evacuated for inspection. No bomb was found, but the incident disrupted thousands and underscored the constant vigilance required. These events fueled public fears. Was the outage a cyber attack? Alaska Airlines quickly clarified, this was a hardware failure, not sabotage. The context of recent threats made the public especially anxious. Airlines and airports operate under immense pressure to ensure safety from all angles. Any major disruption, even technical, is viewed through a lens of security. The need for clear, honest communication has never been greater. Lifting the ground stop didn't solve everything. It marked the start of a long recovery. Aircraft and crews were stranded in the wrong cities, schedules in disarray. Delays and cancellations persisted for days as the airline worked to rebook 13,500 travelers. Customer service lines were jammed, airport queues stretched for hours. Many passengers waited days for new flights, while others struggled to reunite with their baggage. Compensation claims for hotels and meals poured in, straining the airline's resources. The financial cost was huge, but the real challenge was restoring trust. Gradually, flights resumed and order returned, but the memory of chaos lingered. For passengers, the ordeal was a harsh lesson in the unpredictability of travel. Alaska Airlines faced a long road to win back customer confidence. The July outage forced Alaska Airlines and the industry to confront their digital vulnerabilities. The lesson: no single piece of hardware should be able to ground an airline. Robust backup systems and seamless fail-safes are essential. Alaska Airlines had faced a similar smaller outage just a year before. Clearly, more needed to be done. The airline pledged a top-to-bottom review of its IT infrastructure and to eliminate single points of failure. Beyond technology, the crisis highlighted the need for better communication with passengers during disruptions. Empowering staff and using every channel to provide honest updates is vital. The shutdown was a wake-up call about our dependence on invisible technology. As aviation grows more digital, the risks and the need for resilience only increase. The industry must learn from this chaos, or risk repeating it.